Your brain lies to you every day, and you don't even notice. It changes what you see. It rewrites what you remember. It fills in information that isn't there. And the strangest part? You can feel completely certain while being completely wrong. So today, we're going inside the one thing you trust more than anything else, your own brain. Let's start with your eyes. Right now, each one of your eyes has a small blind spot, a tiny patch where the optic nerve connects to your retina with no light-sensing cells at all. That patch is genuinely blind. No information reaches your brain from that exact point. And yet, you don't see a hole. You don't see a gap. You don't see anything missing at all because your brain doesn't leave it blank. It looks at the pattern around the blind spot and it paints something in. Matching color, matching texture, a convincing, seamless guess. You're not seeing reality in that spot. You're seeing your brain's best invention, presented to you as if it were simply what's there. Try this. Most people never even discover their blind spot exists unless someone specifically shows it to them with a simple test, closing one eye and watching a small object seem to vanish and reappear. That's how convincing the illusion is. A literal hole in your vision. And your brain hides it so well that most people go their entire lives without ever noticing. And it does this constantly, for your entire life, without ever asking permission. Now here's where it gets stranger. Your memory works the same way. Every time you recall something, your brain doesn't play back a recording. It rebuilds the memory from scratch, using fragments, and it fills the gaps the same way it fills your blind spot, with something plausible, something that fits. And each time you remember something, that reconstructed version can quietly replace the original in storage. So the more you remember something, the more chances your brain has to subtly edit it. Small details shift. Confidence stays exactly the same. You never feel the edit happening. It simply feels like remembering. There's no warning label attached. No little flag telling you, this part was reconstructed, not retrieved. The rebuilt version and the original feel identical from the inside, which means you have no reliable way to tell them apart just by how confident the memory feels. But the most unsettling version of this isn't about what you see or what you remember. It's about why you do things. There's a real experiment done by researchers studying something called choice blindness. People are shown two photographs of faces, side by side. They're asked simply which one they find more attractive. They point, they choose. Nothing complicated. Then, without them noticing, the researcher secretly swaps the photos, hands them back the exact face they just rejected, and tells them that's the one they picked. Here's the part that should genuinely surprise you. In the majority of trials, people don't catch the switch. And when asked to explain why they chose that face, they don't say, "Wait, that's not what I picked." They just answer, confidently, in detail, with specific, personal reasons, for a face they never actually chose. Their brain wasn't confused. It didn't hesitate. It simply built an explanation on the spot and handed it over as if it had been true the entire time. This isn't a rare glitch in a handful of confused people. Researchers have found the same pattern with consumer choices, financial decisions, even moral and political opinions. Give someone a false version of their own choice, and more often than not, their brain will defend it anyway. And there's an even stranger version of this, found in a very specific group of patients. People who once underwent a rare surgery separating the two halves of their brain to treat severe seizures. In some experiments, researchers showed information to only one half of the brain at a time. The half responsible for speech, the left hemisphere, sometimes had no idea why the body was doing something because the instruction came from the other side entirely. But when asked to explain the action, that speaking half never said, "I don't know." It confidently invented a reason right there in real time and appeared to genuinely believe it. Neuroscientists have a name for the part of your brain doing this. They call it the interpreter. Its job isn't to tell you the truth. Its job is to make sure your story stays consistent, whether or not that story is actually accurate. So think about what that actually means. Your eyes are quietly inventing what belongs in a blind spot you can't detect. Your memory is quietly rewriting itself every time you access it. And somewhere in your brain, a dedicated system exists whose entire purpose is generating confident explanations, regardless of whether they're true. None of this feels like guessing. None of this feels uncertain. It feels exactly like knowing. That's what makes it so difficult to catch. Confidence was never proof of accuracy. Your brain simply never learned to flag the difference. So, the next time you're absolutely certain about something you saw, something you remember, or a reason you gave for a choice you made, remember that certainty isn't evidence. It's just what a completed story feels like from the inside, whether or not it happens to be true. Your brain was never built to show you the world exactly as it is. It was built to hand you something usable, something coherent, something you could act on quickly, even if that meant quietly filling in the parts it couldn't actually verify. Most of the time, that shortcut works well enough that you never notice the seams. But the seams are still there, running through nearly everything you see, remember, and believe about your own choices. You just weren't given a way to feel them.